Hi all, my name is Dwani. I head the HR team for a company called MyCare Health. I have over a decade, almost a decade of work experience. It's a mixed bag of work experience from telecom to healthcare sector. My key expertise includes performance management, HR communication, and learning and development is something I've recently ventured into. And our guest for today, she has over 2 decades of work experience. She is the winner of Times Women Professional of the Year, Asia's top 100 HR power leader. She's won the iconic Women HR Leadership Award, worked in top brands like Microsoft, Boston Consulting Group, Ola Cabs, Zycus, Compass. She's led a global people and culture mandate along with CEO in Zycus, Compass Blocks, and Ola Cab, a regular speaker, panelist, guest professor in various HR forums, podcast, and industry events, B School, and have her own self created suite of leadership and people program called HR in a Box. He's managed global workforce setup like unicorns, Ola, Compass Strategic Change Management Initiative, worked in global roles. Excellent rapport with well connected with CEOs and other business leaders. Masami, we welcome you to the podcast. It's a very first episode of talks between HR, which is more industry relevant topics, and I hope it helps other HR in the industry to talk and initiate more conversations like this.
Thank you, Dhwani. That was very kind and generous introduction. Very glad to be here. Good afternoon, everybody.
We'll straight on dive to our conversation topic, which is gender sensitivity in workplace. What particularly, as for you, is gender sensitivity in context of a workplace?
Gender sensitivity, gender harmony at workplace means how we work together as a team, men and women and non-binary, anybody working together, uh, building up an organization, thinking strategically, doing teamwork, collaborating with each other. It's so important to be aware of each other's needs, wants, expectations, and accordingly manage things, processes, programs, and build a culture of feeling safe, loved, appreciated at workplace, because these are the ingredients which ultimately lead to productivity. Nobody likes to get up in the morning and feel stressed with the idea of going to work. And the sensitivity with respect to the gender needs is
Mhm.
really one of the topmost needs of any person at any workplace. So that's the whole idea of gender sensitivity. For example, say a woman who is pregnant, the
Hmm.
very fact that the office should have set up for a pregnant woman to walk around and get what she needs, or a proper sitting arrangement, that itself is being sensitive to her specific gender needs.
Absolutely. I agree. A lot of females do face challenges when it comes to pregnancy, like you said. Can you describe the current state of gender sensitivity in most workplaces in India today?
Okay. Before getting to workplaces, I'd like to talk of India particularly as a
Hmm.
economic power. We are talking of a country of 1 billion population, the most populated country in the world. So 1.3 billion is what we are at today. And at the workforce, what is the percentage that's women? It's less than 50%. Actually, it is at 30, not even 30 to 40%, 30% at max if I were to keep some of the industries which are doing really well in terms of employing women, like education, hospitality, technology sector. So
Hmm.
in this scenario, when we talk of gender sensitivity, it means that the race itself has not started on an equal footing. There's a very good likelihood that a large percentage of your co-workers, if you are a woman, large percentage of your co-workers are men. So we are
Hmm.
not here talking of a 50-50 ratio. Therefore, Gender sensitivity, in a nutshell, means the men have to come forward and do a little more to make it a equitable platform for everybody to work in peace. They have to be the bigger people, and not saying it in any negative way. In fact, historically, if we see, all women centric policies and regulations, actually, and revolutions for that matter, have come through by men. So it's not a man versus woman thing, it's a harmonic movement. But in this case, because the power people, the power, the
Hmm.
leadership right now happens to be at least 70% of males, they have to make this happen. So, gender sensitivity at workplace means women getting equal pay, equal employment, equal opportunities. They're made to feel safe, appreciated, given respect at work. Every day is not a struggle. It also means that in a boardroom, a woman does not get shut out simply because she cannot speak in a male bass tone. She has a
Yeah.
high pitch but low bass. So when 10 men work or talk together, the 11th person, who's a woman, will definitely by simple lower register will not get heard. So it can be as basic as that. And trust me, each of these moments, every time a person shouts at you, you
Hmm.
feel a little vulnerable and a little diminished. Unfortunately, this happens so often that it goes unnoticed, and more so unnoticed even by the woman. So sometimes the women get comfortable with
Hmm.
not being heard, with taking a secondary seat, with taking a back seat, with playing the secondary role. So that has to change.
It's like you have a place at the table, but do you have the voice?
Voice, yeah. And you're okay. You start becoming okay with it.
Yeah. It so happens with a lot of organizations too.
True.
A lot of common misconception about gender sensitivity, um, which you could highlight, which come across in industries and different industries, because
Sure.
it's not about female getting better pay, but it's a equal opportunity for every gender out there.
Correct, correct, correct. Yeah. So the some of the I would say misconceptions or the superficial things that happen is once in a year everybody celebrates Women's Day.
Hmm.
Doesn't make a difference whether you celebrate it or you don't celebrate it. Doesn't make a difference. Or when we have some policies which are very women centric, like for example, a lot of organizations are giving menstrual leaves and all. These are great. These are really great. But that will not change the everyday experience of a woman as such, in terms of whether she's learning, she is growing, she is being given the best opportunity to have an output, the best work output. So at the performance level, at the remuneration level, at the equal opportunity level, the change has to happen. Having said that, as I mentioned again, giving the Indian context, there are issues which lead to men also feeling vulnerable, and
Yeah.
that can lead to seething resentments. So, for example, at the education level, there are reservations for women. So, what
Hmm.
happens is talent and merit gets replaced by simple gender. So, when a male student at a very early age, at a formative age, feels he has been treated unfairly by the system because he's been born as a male, somebody else got an engineering seat because of their gender who did not deserve it. What happens to the psychological impact to that person? There will be a seething resentment,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Then
Hmm.
that person goes into the workforce. At that point, what would be his or her, his rather,
Hmm.
thought process with respect to the five female colleagues that he is working with? Will there be respect? That's a question that we need to understand. So maybe there is respect, maybe it has not impacted, or maybe there is a resentment, which soon goes into overt and covert operational level actions. Deliberate indifference to the woman, not respecting the woman's capability, behavioral, there may be changes, and this grows over a period of time. So that is one part, the reservation part, which men really feel that is unfair in an Indian ecosystem. I'm talking about, and I'm saying all of this, Dhwani, through discussions with many men, women, issues, etc., etc. Can't believe
Mhm.
how much. Then the
It.
second point where men feel there is a discrepancy is the women-related laws.
Mhm.
Legislation-wise, legislatively, there are many laws where a woman just has to complain and there'll be action against the man. No questions asked. There is a reason why this has happened. There is a reason, a very big socio-economic reason. However, the larger part of the men now feel that it is very unsafe to have even a normal conversation with a woman around. कौन किस बात पे, sorry I have to speak this in Hindi, कौन किस बात पे complain करेगा पता नहीं है. Better to stay away. So when these things happen together, what comes as a result is there is no trust that is being built. There is no feeling of collaboration. Either we are very good friends or we are adversaries. There is no middle path. We don't need to be either. We don't need to be either friends or we need to be adversaries. We just need to be colleagues, professional colleagues respecting each other. So,
Absolutely.
does that make sense, Twani? Is there anything
It
that you would like to
absolutely
add?
sense for me. Even when you spoke prior about how people are conditioned, and it's deep-seated conditioning from very beginning level as to as education level. From there, the ideology comes to the workforce too. So how could we change it even when it's say when they join workforce? How do we change this thought process?
That's a very good question, Dhwani, and it's a very, very profound discussion for everybody.
Yeah.
If, not something that you and I can solve, but if I were to give a thought to it, what I would like to say is organization needs to first prioritize it. Gender sensitivity cannot be a bullet point topic on some occasions. It has to be part of the strategy. It has to be part of the business plans that we need to have an organization where employees, the people who are making business happen, get a platform of equality, stability, respect, etc. If the priority is not there at the top, it will never flow down to the bottom. And from day one itself, both men and women, and I'll repeat this, it cannot be just men being educated. Both men and women have to be educated on gender needs, both ways. And on one hand, it has to be made clear to men that we are here to do good work based on our education, skill set, women and men here both. And they need to be given equal opportunity with no bias whatsoever. You have to learn to segregate your personal from the professional. And when we talked about the early experiences happen at home also. So a man may see his father being the breadwinner at home, taking all the strong decisions. The mother is the nurturer, the caregiver who stays away from all decision making. From there to a workplace where you see women being all aggressive, strong, giving out a lot of opinions, you may not like it. So that strong conditioning, the strong education has to be there. For women, the education is that you have to be honest and accurate. You also cannot continuously keep playing your gender card to get your way with. So that also happens, Dhwani. Sad to say, but it happens. Women also do play the gender card, sometimes unfairly, sometimes very fairly, and sometimes unfairly, and they do a great disservice to everybody else. So women
Agree.
also have to be educated that this is a very, very serious thing with serious consequences, and we need to be mindful of such things. And I must tell you this, Dhwani, much as I hate to admit it, I have been on on sexual harassment and harassment at workplace committees, and out of every 7 complaints that we get, at least one has been found to be a false one. So that also should not happen. The moment a woman gets an opportunity, she shouldn't use a gender card to try to hide some underperformance issue or any such things.
That
So
one
this
case discredits the six others.
absolutely, yes, 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 that disservice happens. I would also like to highlight the fact that, remember, as I mentioned this, that I've been on the harassment committees of many organizations. It is very disappointing that these committees are always busy, which
Hmm.
tells you that the level of harassment is so high, both sexual and non-sexual at workplace. All of this don't get highlighted, they don't get talked about, but they exist.
So in your work experience over past 2 decades, some of the key challenges where it's difficult to achieve that gender sensitivity at workplace you have come across.
Okay. Personally, I would like to mention that I've had to actually tell, and this is an actual experience. In a boardroom, I'm the only woman representative, and we are talking about work related things, and I'm not being heard. Each time I'm speaking, somebody else is quietening me with their uh, discussion. At one time, I actually had to make this statement: this room is very testosterone. That's when everybody shut up. Now, that's a very aggressive behavior from my side, I agree. But then I had to become aggressive because others were not letting me speak. So, what happens, Dhwani,
Hmm.
when a person is not allowed to use their natural resources, they become more aggressive. Like they say, a wounded tiger is more carnivorous. So
Hmm.
when women continuously face opposition, they become more aggressive, more harsh. So then the narrative that goes around is women leaders are more aggressive, they are more difficult, they are tougher, they are difficult to work with. So it's like you cannot win. You just cannot win. So this has been my experience. I can also tell you another example. So here I am talking about the behavior of peers and seniors.
Hmm.
Even people who report to you, junior people, guys, they behave much better with your male counterparts, who they don't even report to. They don't like taking orders from you, but they're quite okay to doing sir, hanji, naji, kya laun aapke liye sir ji, to your male counterparts. It's a tough, tough, tough world out there, and it is toughest for people like us who are the first ones to get inside and create a inroad for other women to follow.
So imagine like your own team members not respecting you enough to
Yes,
not listening to things they are reporting to you and not really taking the basics of this needs to be done, and you
true.
have to justify that to
True,
somebody
true,
within
true. So
you.
then what happens if the person is not listening to you, ignoring you? What will you do? You will shout a little more to be heard. So then the narrative goes out, oh, you are so aggressive. You see the cycle that flows?
It's a never ending cycle
It's a
which
never ending cycle.
cannot really there's no exit to it.
True.
So even with when we spoke about top management, what is the key difference with men at top and women at top management, and how does that really change the narrative of workplace gender sensitive?
So, to first of all, I would again say, which I've already mentioned, historically, traditionally, a lot of men have done a lot of good for women. Lot of, be it in US, be it in India, be it in Europe, you would see a lot of legislation and revolutionary changes which benefited women have been done by men. So, fundamentally, I do not think that women are the only champions for women. Men can also be champions for women and for each other, for that matter. Having said that, if the equation of women leaders gets a little better at the top, I think there is a lot more empathy to
Hmm.
issues which are slightly gray area. Every issue is not black and white. Some are gray. And I think to a male mind, the gray area is a little difficult to, they're not conditioned to understand. Women understand those gray areas, those unsaid things, the emotional aspects, those things a little better. So I think the empathy will be higher if the equation changes of male to female leaders. Otherwise, I would like to credit all my all the male leaders that I have worked with, that they have been very reasonable and fair in understanding certain issues and been supportive. But this empathy part, like I said, some people are conditioned to understand things in a 0-1 scale, and some people can be a little more empathetic to vague and gray areas. I think women bring that part out well.
Yeah, totally agree. Even with a lot of organization to foster a gender sensitive workplace or a culture from an HR standpoint, how can HR make more policies or inculcate more activities or educate more workforce to get this imbibed into the work culture?
I think to begin with, at the hiring stage,
Mhm.
HR should be very careful about what are the skills and parameters for hiring. So the hiring should not be only based on technical or functional skills. There also has to be, say, psychometric tests and emotional intelligence questions and those kind of things to figure out the ability of a person to change or to understand or to comprehend. So, if we hire right, if we are hiring people who are high on EQ, all of these things to educate, enlighten, put on a methodology, because you can create as many processes as you want. People have to follow those processes, they have to respect those processes. Otherwise, it's just a bullet point somewhere. So, at the hiring stage itself, we have to be meticulous on what we are hiring for. The second is it should be a cultural thing where every day, in everyday examples, everyday experiences, everyday activities, we are ensuring that everybody gets an opportunity. So, for example, if we are making an activity, if we are doing an employee engagement program,
Mm.
and the engagement program is about, say, football, what percentage of women are actually going to participate? It's a
Not much.
non starter.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Absolutely non-starter. Similarly, if we are going to do a, say, a embroidery class, what percentage of men are going to participate? Again, it's a non-starter. Whether I am being gender stereotypical is a separate issue. Maybe I am being gender stereotypical, but then stereotypes are a reason. There is a reason why stereotypes get formed.
Yeah, yeah.
Traditionally, I don't think men show too much interest in embroidery and women show too much interest in football, for example. So if we are not careful about what we are, so I'd rather have an activity where both men and women can participate. I'd ensure that the participation is uniform. So these kind of things, they may sound very small, but they go a long way in bringing out this culture of acceptance.
And are there any specific industries or sectors where there is significant improvement which is required as for you, or in particularly which is challenging when it comes to gender sensitivity?
There are roles and there are sectors. So let me start with the sectors. I think the manufacturing sector, engineering sector, heavy machinery, consumer durables, all of these places, women representation is very, very less
Mm,
compared to that, say, in tech, hospitality, education, medical, the non instrumental kind of medical, not the
mm,
pharma kind of thing. The women participation is very high. Banking sector is doing very well. Coming to roles, so these are the sectors that are doing well with women, and engineering, manufacturing, not so much. Roles wise, if you see HR as a function, support as a function is filled with women. You have I would say finance is 50-50, not too much. Sales roles, marketing roles, especially sales role, a lot
mm,
of women and very women centric. Sorry, men centric. A sales, and this is another challenge where in a sales role,
mm.
people have created an atmosphere of language, of behavior, of what they call as the boys' locker room culture, that it is very difficult for women to anyway survive. So,
But with a
Industry,
lot, I think that over the years there's a change in the sales segment too, where you see now a lot of female employees getting preferred for the specific job profile. I recently heard about this company, a delivery company, where they had this amazing initiative of female employees instead of wearing a t-shirt, they introduced a kurta for the female employees to deliver the food. So,
definitely.
do you think
It is changing. It is changing.
initiatives
Yes,
like
it
that
is changing.
really help the companies in bridging that gap between genders?
Yes, yes. It is changing, as you rightly pointed out. Um, the difference is yet to be seen in large numbers, for sure.
And what are the practical steps the people in HR managers here in this out there? What are the practical steps they can take to become more gender sensitive in their interactions or behaviors at the workplace?
Actually, to begin with, Dhwani, I don't think HR is a problem at all.
Hmm.
HR people are probably the only people who understand this much better than anyone in the organization. So, having said that, yes, HR plays a role in being the educator to everybody else. That is the role they have to play. So, what I'm trying to say is, HR people themselves are very gender sensitive, but they have to ensure the rest of the organization also is. So, I think it again starts at the top. HR is a very people driven or a personality driven function.
Hmm.
The person at the top really needs to own it. People at the top, not one, who really works as a HR partner, as a thought leader with the CEO to ensure, like I said, that this has to be the organizational priority. This
Hmm.
has to be priority at the top. And if the CEO and the business leaders are signed on to it, then the entire weaving it into specific action items
Hmm.
becomes part of the whole DNA of the organization. Having said that, I would like to caution on one thing, Dhwani. I was talking to my friend and colleague from Microsoft, and Microsoft does a great job of diversity and inclusion. He was talking about experiences of other people, not in Microsoft, but Silicon Valley in general. Silicon Valley, when it comes to India, what they do is it becomes a rubber stamp diversity and inclusion. So they just go around telling managers, you have to have 2% of your entire team filled by women. So then what happens is these
Hmm.
people don't give, it's not like they really care about the gender sensitivity. It's a quota they are filling. So
Yeah.
it's again the reservation at education level all over again. So
But
that's a caution that I think organizations need to keep. Don't make it a quota system. That will never work.
for HR specifically, because it comes down on HR's shoulders when it comes to fostering a work culture which is supportive of
Exactly,
gender
exactly.
sensitive.
So that's the caution I'm telling HR people have to do. Don't make it a quota system.
And like you fairly and rightly pointed out too, it's more of the manager, the senior management team to inculcate that culture in their organizations too. So as a leader and manager, um, what is that one thing they could do within their teams or organization to help this be part of it?
I think there also needs to be a little bit of a carrot and stick
Hmm.
methodology in the sense uh, in meetings, for example, everyday meetings, uh, if we see bad behavior, call it out. Don't let it simmer and grow. Please tell people it is not okay for a woman's personal life, her appearance, her way of talking, her way of dressing to become fair game for conversation. All of this seems very harmless until it becomes harmful. And this happens. So, at a everyday level, I think HR needs to not just give the carrots in terms of let's hire more women and let's have women celebrations and all of these. That's the carrot. But as a stick, we also need to promote good and healthy work behavior wherein personal lives, personal attribute. I've even heard things like, oh, she is menopausal. Why is a
Yeah.
woman's age a discussion point for anybody? And why is it so okay? Why is it that nobody stops that person? So
Hmm.
this, not wait for another day. We have to stop. We have to call it out. We have to reprimand. There has to be a system and mechanism of telling people what healthy and good behavior looks like. You just cannot get away with such behavior because each of this, little by little, these are small micro issues, but when you gather them together, they become a big issue. So as
Uh,
HR, we really need to have that reprimanding methodology also. It just cannot be only carrot.
Again, there's a talk on maternity benefits too, and now in India, it's been widely spoken about. So, if you could throw some light on how it's been, changed over the years. Now we have paternity leave for men, and it's more inclusive for both the genders.
Absolutely, and it's great. So, apart from the normal maternity benefits and the leaves, we are also encouraging paternity leaves. We are encouraging workplaces to have nursing rooms for women coming back to work. There are baby daycare centers that are being created at workplaces. There are nutritional uh, recommendations and nutritionists given support given to new mothers, both for the mother and the baby. All of these things are adding to the value of a baby being the responsibility of both the men and the women. Maternity leaves are important. All of these services like creche and nutritionist, dietitian, consultant, and emotional consultant. Women go through postnatal depression. So, facility of a daycare center or baby nanny centers and those kind of things are so important, so critical. Some allowance is given also as a reimbursable component as part of the remuneration for the first year of anybody having a baby. These are all new things that are happening at the workplace, and they're great. And it should not be given only to the woman employee. If a male employee also has a baby at home, it's the same expenditure, right? It's not like that guy is not having the expenditure, so these should be given, and they are being given in
A vast,
small doses, but yes, it's happening and it's great.
a vast majority of female workforce, they happen to quit after delivering. So how can that be changed? Because even an organization is where female employees or that one specific gender is more inclined towards, but they do have maximum attrition because of this reason. So how can a company help change this specifics?
This is a very good question, Dhwani. Again, I get these issues happening to solve as an HR leader quite often. Lot of business leaders get frustrated that a woman goes into maternity and all business plans get haywire because we are not sure whether she's coming back or not. So when we talk to the woman employee, the main issue is the work timings, coming to office, those kind of things. So if we have flexible work timings, say work from home, hybrid work situation, or we also look at the content of somebody's work. For example, if a woman had a desk job, can she be given a role wherein she can work from home? It is not limited to a particular timing and those kind of things. Then I think this need of women to quit, feel the need to quit after maternity will reduce. Right now, we are also as organizations, we also do not do these flexible changes or these customized changes to suit the changing needs. Having said that, Dhwani, I'd also like to mention here, as I started, that we also need to keep in mind that there are it's a billion population country. So we also need to keep in mind that some of it is possible, some of it is not possible. So whatever is possible should be done, and the rest, I think it's a woman's choice also. If she doesn't want to come back to work, we have to respect her choice. What needs to happen is once she is back from her maternity break, or after she has taken a break post her maternity leave, there have to be more openness with the organizations to accept them back in the workforce. That
Absolutely.
currently is slightly on the lower side, but there are programs done by various organizations like Tata's and many others who have specific HUL Tata's for sure have these big programs wherein they have roles created for women coming back after maternity breaks.
Even with the company I work with, they had after I joined, and we've come up with a plan where female or workforce where they go on maternity leave, and even post that they wish to continue, they could take up part-time roles where they could still contribute towards our organization till they are comfortable coming full-time with the organization. That way, even we do not lose on the resource, valuable resource the company has, and
True,
it
true.
works
That's
both the ways.
brilliant. That's brilliant.
With a gender pay gap, again, it's a much spoken topic in every organization and every forum. So if we could throw some light on gender pay equality and how much of a difference it's changed, because I've come across instances where top actresses spoken about, in every industry there is a gender pay gap, and what can be done to bridge that gap.
And you are right, Dhwani, that happens. What happens many times is when people start out at a work level, initially at a fresher level, there is no gap. You know,
Hmm.
as a campus fresher, people are given same remuneration, and you cannot do it otherwise because it's too obvious.
Hmm.
You cannot have two people of different genders joining from the same institute and getting paid differently. That would be too obvious. That is straight away leading to a litigation. So no organization would try to do that. What happens eventually is the progress of a woman is slower. The man progresses faster. So the
Hmm.
person gets paid more and more. And it is very subtle. It's not done openly. It's not done overtly.
Hmm.
So as a result, slowly with people with similar backgrounds, similar skill sets, similar experiences, it's not just that the pay is different, the level is also different.
There's a
And that
significant difference, yeah.
yes, yes. So then women have no choice but to leave the organization, go somewhere else. Then when you go somewhere else, they look at the pay that you were earning in the earlier organization and they give a, uh, increment to that. So then that gap that was created never gets repaired. So this is what happens. Now, how it can be changed is we need to have very clear cut processes for career progression. It should not be a human thought process that I kind of like that kind's work, that person's work. He works after 9 p.m., so he's a great guy to work with. This woman, she logs off at 6 p.m., which is the ideal time for her to log off. So, which means she is lazy, so she is not fit for promotion. That guy works till 10 p.m., so he is fit for promotion. So these kind of flimsy progression criteria need to be eliminated. It has to be clear cut, metric driven. With technology being there, there cannot data cannot be based on what you think and I think. Data can be very very accurate and constructive. So that needs to be there. That needs to be put in place. Second, organizations need to be very strong at their salary banding and creation of roles kind of thing. It should not be subject to changes. It should not be subject to individual whims and fancies. So these two things should reduce and mitigate this issue significantly. Maybe not all, significantly.
Benchmarking it for the specific profile would really help,
Yes. Yeah.
irrespective of the gender.
Absolutely, absolutely. And these thought processes, somebody working till 10 p.m., 11 p.m. signifies good work needs to stop, really stop. Because it's possible that the man goes back home and doesn't do the cooking and doesn't sit with the kids' homework. So he can be available till 10 p.m. Does that mean that the person is doing great, magnificent work? Not necessarily. That person is just available. So these
And then
stereotypes have to really be eliminated.
there was recently a debate which was on number of hours in a week that one should be completing in order to be the ideal workforce candidate. Even that spurred a lot of conversation between the youth out there, and how they disagreed on a certain number of hours to be given it, and not the quality of the work they give.
True, true. You see, some roles they do need long hours.
Hmm.
Everything cannot be about, everything is not subject to changes. One size doesn't fit all.
Right.
So if some roles need long hours, they need to be specified as roles that need long hours. But some roles which are not dependent on work timings or the number of hours, if you're applying that filter there also, then that is wrong. So that
And
clarification needs to be clear.
there are a lot of diversity and inclusion initiatives which are taken by the companies now to promote gender sensitivity. These may include like some unconscious biases training, which is given to the employees, which they do not realize, like you had earlier mentioned, and have a significant impact on a person over time.
Dhwani, could you repeat the question? Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a lot of diversity and inclusion initiatives which are taken by a lot of organization now to promote gender sensitivity in the workplace. This efforts include unconscious biases which are
Yes.
training, which are there in the workflows, and how to um, pinpoint those and get that highlighted, even though those are done unconsciously by a lot of employer workforce. There are mentorship programs which are for women, flexible work arrangement for employees which have been given. So, do you think that these programs are making any relevant changes in representation of women leadership positions?
They are useful, yes. They are making a change, yes. Incremental. I wouldn't say they're making a very exponential change, not yet. Certainly not a radical change. But the fact that it's being talked about, it's being understood, it's become something that is being highlighted is a good start. There's a lot more that can happen, but this is definitely a good start, yes. The problem is at the middle level. So at a let me create stratas of how it is accepted at a
Mm.
lower level, pressure level. 0 to 3 years, Gen Z kind of population, employee base. The acceptance is very high. They are open to learning. This is a new thing for them. They are learning, accepting wholeheartedly, very open to change. At the middle level management, there is a lot of question mark.
Mm.
It's all because suddenly it's almost like you have set the cat among the pigeons. So these people feel, oh, are you questioning us? Are you saying that we have been biased? Are you saying we have been prejudiced? So there is a little bit of an annoyance at the
Mm.
middle level. At a senior level, at a leadership level, of course, the understanding is there that this is important, this is relevant, but sometimes leadership also says, hey, we have other important things to worry about. Let the other people deal with it. You want to do these programs, great, go ahead and do it. I don't want to be part of it, I have other things to do. That is where the problem happens. Leadership has to drive it, they have to be part of it. They lead by example, share their anecdotes, then the acceptance among the middle level would be higher. As I said, the junior, the 0 to 5 years work experience, it's anyway not a problem area, not yet. So the middle level, the middle management level, these are the people who are really managing the largest teams, and they are the ones who need to accept it, but they don't accept it unless their bosses say, hey, this is important. So that's where the ball suddenly stops.
That's from an organization standpoint. Say from a broader perspective, there are government initiatives now to promote gender equality and women empowerment, such as Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao, and to educate daughters scheme. This Mahila, they had which is for support programs for women entrepreneurs, in which they get subsidies for starting their own business. So how do you think programs like that, which have been introduced government, are they really helping female to start their own? business or to work at par with the other genders?
Actually, these are very useful programs. The good part is these, people, the girls, they are getting vocational training, so they can be used. A large population of employees for the small and medium enterprises, at the handloom, handicraft kind of industries, these people get employed. So that's the good part. The not so good part is for larger organizations, government presents this as a guideline. It's
Hmm.
not a norm, it's a guideline. So, smart organizational leaders play with those words. So, as long as it's not a norm, it's okay for us to look the other way around and not execute it. So that's where the challenge is. I do not know at a legislation level whether it can be made into a norm or it has to remain as a guideline. But I can tell you this, Dhwani, that as long as all these government programs
Hmm.
are there, it's great. And it's very good that women from different social backgrounds, economic backgrounds, are getting training in basic education and vocational training, which makes them employable. There are a lot of smaller organizations, smaller women entrepreneurs who are coming up, and it's great. But for a larger change to happen at the bigger employers, the bigger organizational levels, I think they need to move from the guideline to the mandate level. So I am not a subject matter expert on saying whether it is possible legislatively or not.
I brought it up even because you own your own art foundation, and
Right,
that helps with social development causes for girl children.
right, right,
So
right.
yeah, it does make significant difference if at that level, the education level, you could make that change.
True, true. Yeah, I try my best.
Okay, well, dwell into more into any specific industry or sector, again, where you think and you work with that can significantly work on this specific topic.
I would say that areas like manufacturing, engineering, real estate, these really need to focus a lot on making their organizations a more women happy places
Hmm.
and women safe places. It's the whole aura and ethos and atmosphere of these workplaces are women can work, but they can never be at the top. So as long as you are there, part of the janta, and you listen and do what we ask you to do, you are okay, you are tolerated. As the more you become ambitious, the more you are targeted, and that is not a very safe environment.
Absolutely. How do you see the future of gender sensitivity evolving in a workplace, and what changes would you like to see in organization that they could implement?
I think all organizations should start adopting technology a little more
Mhm.
with AI and other such technology coming. We should use them to create data and information centers, which is not biased, which is unprejudiced. A machine is not prejudiced. So, information of people's productivity and output and talent and merit should become technology driven. That will reduce a lot of human biases. And also, realistically speaking, as more and more Gen Z people enter the workforce, these are today's people who have seen more of equality at home. They all have working mothers. They have seen their mothers and fathers working together to build a home and to create and to make life decisions. So they are not used. AI is trained on human data, which is biased. I agree, but then I think it is still less biased than human beings themselves.
I agree on that. Absolutely.
Somebody wrote on the chat, so I'm responding to that. I think the AI is still is less biased. Training, again, unbiased data is a really hard AI problem, maybe, could be. So, yeah, coming to the other part that I was talking about, as more and more Gen Z employees enter the workforce, I see them being more free spirited, more open to accepting equality as a given, and way more tolerant than their seniors. So I think we are geared to more gender sensitivity to the point that it becomes irrelevant as a topic. You know, the best day would be when we don't even need to talk about gender sensitivity because
Yeah,
anyway there is harmony.
yeah.
So today we don't talk about diseases that have got eradicated. So it
Yeah.
should come to that space. So hopefully that will happen.
The day we no longer speak about
We
gender
don't need to
sensitivity at
speak
work.
about it. Yes, yes.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Masumi, for your great insights on how this can be changed and how it has been so far with the industries. If there is any questions from anyone of the audience, we could take it up right now. You could leave it on the chat. We have no questions. It was a lovely session. People understood everything we spoke
Or
about.
it could be that post lunch nice sleeping session.
Thank you so much, Masami, for the lovely sharings, and it was absolutely a delight to interact and learn about your experiences here.
Thank you so much. Equally happy and delighted to be talking about a topic which is so close to my heart. Very, very close to my heart. Thank you for allowing me to speak about it. Thank you so much.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Goodbye.